All right, hang on. I'm frazzled. Oh wait, hang on. Am I not on select? Okay, no, I'm not on the right screen.
Brained.
So let's actually get
Brained.
There we go. Good grief, I'm exhausted.
Well,
Technology is awful.
Are you? Yeah. I'm just saying that Perseus, as the only heterosexual man to challenge Medusa and live, could not keep his eyes off her enormous yams, and I think that there's a lesson in that. Take that what you will.
Is that actually in the myth?
Yes.
I thought it was simply the fact that if you look at her through the reflection, her power doesn't work. So the shield was the reason.
I'm pretty sure he was looking at her yams.
I mean, was she as naked as the portrayals always say?
Yeah, I'm just saying.
So the only reason he
he
succeeded
killed
is
her
because
anyway,
he was so hetero that he wasn't looking at her face.
That's terrible.
So Perseus was the ultimate dude, bro. And he saved... there's valid...
I'm just saying...
I don't know enough about the myth of Medusa, but there seems to be a somewhat... And it might be a postmodern deconstruction, which may not have any validity. I'm paranoid about my mic settings now. Because this feels far away, but then I know that if I put it too close, it's going to peak. So I don't know. Anyways... Because it may or may not be a postmodernist reinterpretation, but it's something along the lines of the fact that she was cursed, quote unquote, to turn men to stone, or anyone, I guess. I think it was anyone who looked at her. But it was as a result of the fact that she was previously a priestess of...
Right.
One of the gods, it was probably Artemis, because it seems like the kind of thing she would do.
It was a goddess, because...
Artemis is a female. And it seems like the kind of thing Artemis would do, because Artemis is the celibate who hates men. So it makes sense that she would basically be like, haha, if men ever look at you with foul intent again, they'll be turned to stone. And it's like, yeah, fair enough. The argument that like Perseus hunting her down isn't exactly fair, because she's basically, that was a quote-unquote gift given to protect her from further assault. So it's like, did she deserve to be killed? Other than
certainly not, but
so yeah, I mean there's a valid.
She's a victim. I don't think that
there's valid.
I don't think that's anything like read back into the myth. I think that's
the problem is
true.
I don't actually know the myth. Where are these myths written? Is my question.
Because
I have been reading a bunch of Greek plays, and a lot of them are depicted in the plays, but I don't know if those are the original sources. Like, do we have any record before the plays, or is the play the only record?
I'm not sure that anything I have read has been actual original record. I ended up reading them on some sort of blog site that was like, here's all the list of the various.
Well, but then you might have just been reading someone's terrible Cliff Notes.
No, it wasn't Cliff Notes. It definitely was a very each god had their own.
But that doesn't make it academic.
No, I'm not suggesting it was. I'm just saying that I at least got enough where I felt like, okay, that tracks with what I understand of that for the most part.
I feel some people... I actually am... We've had discussions about the archetypicality. I don't know what the word I'm looking for is. The archetypalness of the Greek gods. And there is actually... That does lend itself to some interesting analysis in the modern day. All of which I would consider like weird Greek nerd headcanons. But some of them are actually fairly compelling.
Such as?
Well, I think I touched on this very briefly. We're going to ignore the game this week. This is our fourth attempt at playing it, so it has no novelty for us anymore.
We're not really that excited about it because...
We're a lady who's having an affair with a priest. It's unclear whether or not he's married. It's described as an affair, and we are single.
Which is generous.
As far as I'm concerned, you can only have an affair if one of the parties is married. Unless him being married to the church is part of the affair. I guess that's the argument. We are in Italy, because this is a very Italian game. See? That sign is facing into the town. Why would it need to do that? It's reversible.
It says...
From what I gather, this is an actual Italian game made by a small Italian independent studio, and I sound very unenthused, not because this isn't interesting, but because I have tried so many times to record this.
We have tried to be enthusiastic, and each time...
And all the enthusiasm's gone. It's gone. But we're talking about Greeks, and the Italians like Greeks.
Wow, that's a stretch.
It's not really. The Romans were big fans of the Greeks.
Sure. Anywho.
So Italians.
Italians, they like yams too.
Well, see, the Italians don't have the stereotypes that the Greeks do.
Sure.
I don't know. Like, I think the in Italian families being that was not their what? That was not the depiction we were going with at all. I thought we were talking about how the Greeks. Everyone thinks the Greeks were just gay all the time.
Well, no, that
does not exist in Italy. Certainly not in the modern day. I mean, Rome doesn't. Rome definitely had a reputation for being kinky, lots of orgies and whatnot. But I still.
Is that a fact?
Well, I don't know if it's a fact. It may or may not be myth. I tend to take any thing I hear about the ancient world from the internet. I tend to just take with a grain of salt always.
Well, that's certainly true, but I think that it's not even on an academic level, but kind of. I mean, when it's taught on an academic level, it's a little bit more.
Or does it say AMD? Is she?
Maybe there's something behind the.
No, I think it says AMD. She's an influencer for graphics cards.
Maybe it says Jessica Cramp.
If I knew what the graphics card for this computer was, I either would or wouldn't agree. I can't think of it offhand. It might be an AMD. I actually think it is. But
well, that would be AMD.
No, AMD is the name of the brand. Graphics cards.
I know what you're talking about, but that doesn't. AMD. That was AMP.
No, well, I'm not sure. It could be a P, but if it's a P, it's an awfully flaccid one.
Wow.
It's not very well endowed. That's a cold P.
It's a cold P.
Oh my! This is like Pompeii. What's with all the graffiti? Massi Libero. Hey, I can't help it. I'm gonna start talking like a Mario. They do say that Italian is the language with the closest phonetics to Latin, despite having a different grammar.
Which I suppose makes sense.
The thing that's odd about Latin when you study it, especially when you hear it, is that it's a very rhymey language because of how inflected all of it is.
But I kind of like that about it.
It's hard when you hear it because it's like a full sentence structured. Well, because a full sentence, if it's a multi-part, like if it's got a dependent and independent clause and it's like commas, and if it's a long enough sentence, all of the cases have to agree, which means like every 2 out of 3 words is going to rhyme, which means the entire sentence is going to be like one giant rhyme, and it starts to feel a little bit silly.
Everybody was spitting back then.
Well, a little bit. This is how you know I'm like a colossal nerd, is that I recently translated Aragorn's speech at the end of Return of the King into Latin.
Which one?
Is there one that's more famous than the Black Gate speech?
Well,
I feel like that's the most famous one. But I did that, and I'm like, it works really well. And there's a lot of rhymes.
Well, no more rhyming now. I mean it.
Who's this? I don't remember seeing the... At first I thought it was a penguin, but I'm like, it probably is the Virgin Mary.
Virgin Penguin.
The Penguin Mary.
The Penguin Mary.
How close can we get to sacrilege before it's a problem?
Well, I would think when we start talking about Catholic aliens...
Well, if they freaking show up 4 times, well, this will be the 4th, but 3 times we played this, and they've only shown up once.
People are going to be watching do this, not having seen them yet, going, what are they talking about?
They may not see them, even by the end of this.
That's probably true.
Forza Cagliari.
Oh, careful.
Forza? I said Forza.
I did not hear Forza.
Well, that's your problem for having bad ears. I said it clearly.
That just looks like graffiti.
Well, all of this has looked like graffiti. That looks the most like traditional graffiti. Yeah, all the rest of this has been Pompeii graffiti. Oh, here you go, the hand of truth. Here he is. Or Boca, the mouth of truth. He's looking at me going, I know what you did to the priest. He's disgusted by it, too. You are a kinky degenerate.
And I love it in the worst way.
No heaven for you.
No heaven for you.
What does this one say?
Bongeroid. Bulging discs.
Oh, so did you have any reason to get on with the Greek subject? Or
no, not at all. I just wanted to see how that hits you.
Well, I mean,
I certainly don't mind getting on.
I mean,
about
that's
it.
If you want to say that rampant heterosexuality is what saved Perseus from absolute destruction, then I'm like, okay.
I'm just saying.
That's an interpretation I suppose I can get behind.
You could too.
He was so...
So
I don't know.
nonplussed about her face.
It was like, well, I mean... The question is, what part of her face did the stone...
Hello, I'm up here. Yeah, I'm not looking.
What part of the face did the stone work? Was it the snake hair or was it her actual face?
That's
Because one must wonder that if she was cursed with the snake hair as part of this, then that must have been the thing that did it, right? Or was it her own looks? I'm gonna start packing.
I think you'd cut the snake hair off if.
Well, yeah, but you couldn't get close enough,
hair.
presumably, unless, of course, you used the reflected shield.
No,
Now,
I'm
I was
talking
under
about her herself if she didn't want to be known.
I forgot Italian hip hop, and I can't skip this.
I don't remember this ever being a.
Yeah, I know it's happened every time.
Last time.
I don't know how you miss things. I'm well aware of everything that's gone into these because I'm the one who's had to try and fix them every time. Anyways, I can't skip this anyway. So let's talk about Greeks and how horny they may or may not have been.
Yeah, well,
I mean, it does. It makes perfect sense. It's just I was talking. Yeah, I may as well talk about modern
Greeks.
I wasn't going to talk about horniness. I was going to talk about modern Greek interpretations of myths.
Because I mean, you can't have that discussion without at least
the horniness of Greeks
opening up the topic about Persephone, because that was Jack.
Lord, save me from the horniness of Greeks. The Greeks are a noble people with great history. I don't mean any of them offense, but I mean some of those myths are strange.
Keep it above the waist.
All right, it's Night Vale. I'm going to make this joke every freaking time until it's funny. It's never going to be funny because you don't know what Welcome to Night Vale is. Thank you for your contribution.
Yep.
There's so much commentary that we made all the other times about how this is an indie game making interesting artistic choices because of limited resources, and I'm not going to talk about any of them now.
Nope. Because unfortunately, it's also a glitchy game.
Well, it's not even. I'm not even sure that it's the game's fault. I think they may have just. Okay, I don't know enough about game coding to know how much influence does the actual code of the game have on its ability to be recorded easily. Like, could they have optimized it better so that it could be screen captured with less fuss? Or is that just a fault of, like, our screen capture setup? She looks at the floor in a way as if to suggest that it's filthy.
She's disgusted. Look at this purple floor.
This is actually, like, immaculate, ma'am. I wish my floor was this clean.
What are you on about?
That's like that grout is shiny white. You're keeping your grout that white. I don't know. You're fastidious. Okay, now I'm getting forced outside the windows a lot more. That didn't happen before.
Trying to push you out of the game because they don't want you here anymore.
Morgia sisters photographed in 1929. Yeah, the plot of the game is we had an affair with a priest man, and we're pregnant, and also in the game. I think we've made that joke 4 times in a row now. You missed it this time because that's how used to it you were.
What?
Ask your mom.
We're pregnant with the
yes, we're pregnant
baby.
and we're here back in town because we're an archaeologist lady and we're leaving because we were only here for a set
what
time.
What joke did I make? There's the dungeon.
Yep, the dungeon. What do you want? What should it be for?
What's that dungeon for? No. Pay no attention to that.
Well, I mean, I guess
that's your response. No.
There's photos all over here.
You let me into your dungeon, I'm less concerned. Of course, I guess that metric isn't always the case.
I would be more concerned if I was in it. If I just saw it, I'd be like, that's strange. But if I was in it, I'd be like, how do I get out of here? I would like to get out.
Be like a little bit of a Dahmer thing, like, come into my dungeon.
I feel like there'd be a little bit more clues. He was weird enough. The dungeon wasn't the weirdest thing about him, unbelievably. Clues. Hey, Sergio's still here, sleeping on the bed in his coat. Keep an eye on him. You better. He's a ruffian, that. How does one...
Lived a hardened life, that's why.
Yeah, matches. Well, he's certainly hard up, it would seem.
I don't know that I'm going to comment on that.
On the matches? There's multiple interpretations. You don't have to go for the obvious one. I'm blaming you.
Well, the Greeks would have.
Anyways, yeah, Greek modern reinterpretations. I don't know. They're interesting because I think that they're the easiest
I don't know what
ones
you're getting
to.
at as far as modern
Well,
reinterpretations.
I've gotten so sidetracked. I've never given an example, but like, I think it's just the fact that they're such archetypal stories that they are open to interpretation, perhaps more than some other ones. So some people have suggested, like you mentioned, the Persephone thing, and it's like, is it? Again, given that I got this from the internet, I'm going to assume that it's more of a headcanon than any actual historical fact. But someone suggested the possibility. It's like, what if it wasn't as sordid as it sounds, which it does sound, because I do believe...
How are you going to defend this?
Well, it does depend on the myth, because some
You're
myths...
going to climb into this wooden cow. You're going to hear me out.
That's not Persephone. You're thinking of someone else. Persephone and Hades is the couple I'm thinking of, and that's not...
No.
Her name is not... I mean, I don't know if there's another Persephone, but the Persephone that is most famous is the wife of Hades. But the...
Oh, you're right.
The myth... There is
I was
one version
of
of the myth... And this is why I suppose I'm slightly more open to these interpretations, is that there are already multiple versions of these myths. So, like, another one is fine by me. But one interpretation is that Hades basically, like, kidnapped her because he was lonely and ostensibly assaulted her. That I don't know exactly, but he definitely kidnapped her, so whatever followed was likely non-consensual. And then basically the only reason he lets her go is because she doesn't want to be there, and so he gives her... Because that's the whole myth behind why spring is a thing, is that Persephone stays half the year with Hades, and that's when all the living things die. And so that's basically fall and winter, and then she's allowed 6 months out every spring, and that's when the living things come back. That, I don't know how original that myth is. There is another myth that just suggests that he seduced her, and it was sort of a star-crossed lovers thing, so because she couldn't stay with him for some reason, I forget. But I don't know if that's the postmodern one or if that's just one I heard on the internet. But I tend to favor it, if only because I think that makes it more accessible to modern audiences. We talked before about how the whole, I just abducted this woman and now she's my wife. That was sadly more of a thing in the ancient world.
Is it Pasiphae?
Persephone.
No, I'm talking about the one that I was talking about.
I don't know. It's the one.
It was the
weird. I can't tell you what you're thinking about.
That
Not until the machine's finished.
Fell in love with a white bull because of.
You're thinking the mother of the. Of the Minotaur.
Yes,
I don't know
exactly.
what her name was.
It's Pasiphae, apparently.
Oh, okay, good for her. Hey, here's Paul. He's at the mines. We didn't explain why he's at the mines, nor are we about to.
No, he's just.
I do feel bad for the game.
It's
not their fault that it doesn't
loitering
record
outside
well.
the mines. That was what hardened criminals.
Although
did
here's
back
one
in
thing.
the day.
Here's one thing I will say. Never
What
do this.
time frame
You
is
should
this
never
set
do
in?
this in your game. I think this is old-ish. It's after.
Old-ish.
It's after.
That is a very
it's
determinate
after the
time.
World Wars because there's picture of people in the World Wars, but I think it's not modern. I think it might be like 1 or 2 generations after. Here's one thing I can't say definitively. If I have to hold, look. Oh, they just wanted to make me look like a fool. Okay. Well, a second
Now
ago,
she's river dancing and floating.
a second ago, it was going to try to make me hold the escape button to actually exit out of the menu, and that's inexcusable. I should never have to hold a button when I could just press it. That is a minor quibble I have of games. Anyways.
Depends on the button, I think. Like, if you have a button that...
Not in a menu. I understand if it's in gameplay and you need, this, if you tap it, it does this, and if you hold it, it does that. If it's a menu, there's no reason for that. Just let me press escape to get out. I shouldn't have to be extra sure that I need to escape. Here's the creature he took a picture of off on its first day to school.
We've made that joke before too.
No, we have not. We've made similar bad ones, but that was fresh.
Funky fresh, just like his
It
threads.
looks too much like something out of Freddy, Five Nights at Freddy's. I'm just going to say it.
Freddy Fazbear's
Demon Possession.
First day at
Pizzeria. Demon Possession Pizzeria. Something Xavier Sarsaparilla.
We're gonna get the little demon in you.
Oh dear. That's awful. Anyways, I think that there's some because I do think that the whole idea of like, yeah, Hades kidnapped his wife.
No, that's dumb.
That would well, no, I don't think it is because that would have been less of a cultural like, oh, what a bad thing. It would have been more like, well, yeah, you know, sometimes if you can't get them any other way. So I think modernizing it such that it still carries
the Sabine women. That's
because the ultimate decision is that she did ultimately decide. Like it's a bit of the Beauty and the Beast thing. Like she does decide to go back even when she's set free.
Right.
So
now
I
she
do
actually
think
does
modernizing it, if that's what it is. I don't know if it's a modernization. It could be. But if it is, I still think that there's a validity to it because it takes out some of the more morally loaded elements that don't translate to the modern day, but maintains a certain degree of the intent. Because again, that just wouldn't have been seen as morally reprehensible back then. So making it less morally reprehensible now while still maintaining its meaning, I think is a valid enough thing. But I don't know, there's also a similar thing with like, okay.
Doesn't she have a weird like
Persephone,
love triangle though going on with
I don't think Persephone does. Hades and Persephone are actually quite
Persephone
committed.
with the other guy.
You're thinking Aphrodite. That was the one I was about to jump to next.
But what I'm saying is Persephone and Aphrodite both fall in love with what's his head, the main.
You're getting this reversed.
No, I'm not.
Yes, you are, because you're thinking of the Trojan War, but that was the most beautiful woman, not the most beautiful man.
No, I'm not. It's the whole. She goes back to who she go back to Persephone when it creates the different seasons.
Hades. She goes back to the underworld.
Okay, so then when she leaves the underworld,
she stays with her mother, who is a goddess. This is my understanding of it. You're going to have to furnish. You can't try to remind me of something I don't know. You're going to have to provide me this information.
I'm going to have to look it up because
but I don't believe that's the case because Persephone and Hades are often described as being one of the more. If you adopt the non-kidnap version of the myth, they're actually one of the most stable relationships. Like they don't cheat on each other much. They mostly are just like
Adonis. Persephone and Adonis, and she's in a relationship like where Aphrodite and Persephone both basically fight over Adonis, and when she comes back to her mother, she hooks up with Adonis. And when
I've never heard this.
Yeah. So it's Persephone and Aphrodite had both fallen in love with the mortal man.
Are you sure this is before she was Hades' wife?
This was before, and
then that doesn't count.
Well, she became Hades' wife. Now, anytime she goes back to her mother, she hooks up with Adonis.
Is that in the reading, or are you just assuming that?
No, it's in my other readings. I don't know if it's going to be in this.
Well,
but
then
Zeus ordered Adonis to split his time between Aphrodite and Persephone. So apparently that's actually a thing. Adonis would spend time on Earth with Aphrodite, and then he would go to the underworld to spend time. Okay, so apparently Hades was just cool with it.
See, this is where I don't. The problem with Greek myth is also that you never know. They aren't just alternate versions. They're sometimes contradictory. So I've never heard this one.
So one day Adonis decided he didn't want to return to the underworld and wanted to stay with Aphrodite, but Persephone found out. She sent a wild boar to kill Adonis, and Adonis died in Aphrodite's arms, but it is unclear whether Persephone knew that this would happen. Well, obviously she sent him there to kill him, so...
Or maybe, she's
sure she did.
Well, maybe it was just an outburst. Maybe she just wanted to scare him. She just wanted to make him jealous.
But she is also the queen of the underworld, so it's just like, welcome back, you...
But are you sure this was all still... Well, I guess if it's in the underworld, it must have been. Well, then I don't know. I don't know how.
Hades did not make any of his extramarital affairs secret. Typically, his affairs.
Okay, so maybe I suppose.
But typically, his affairs would not bother Persephone because he also knew about Adonis. So that that makes sense.
So it's a whole bunch of Tumblr people who are just shipping them for no reason.
So
I got caught up in internet gunk.
The bottom line is, they just had an open relationship.
Sadly, that probably does still qualify as the most healthy relationship in Olympus, but it's not as high a bar as I thought.
Well, it's something. At least.
Yeah, something. Not much, though.
But it's honesty at the very least.
Well, again, it's the best of a bad situation, let's say. I don't think we found the cellar last time. It's not a cellar. It's an alcove.
This is where you go to get...
if the monster had appeared then, that would have been the most effective...
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's like...
As far as I understand, the monster doesn't appear until I go to the church. That's not a commentary.
Come back to the church.
Anyways, because there's also another one that basically suggests that's like, what if all of the myths surrounding Aphrodite cheating on Hephaestus were actually just Ares spreading rumors because he was jealous? Again, that sounds like most postmodern internet talk.
Sounds,
but
more
I'm like, I don't know.
We're reading into this because we want to.
Can't we just have slightly more wholesome versions of the Greek gods, please?
No,
I would prefer that.
The Greek gods were really jacked up.
Yeah, but like, let's just let's update
Just
them.
let me hold you.
If they're archetipical, let's have them be archetypal in the modern
Poseidon,
day. Poseidon's pretty normal, I think.
But no, he's the one that cursed Pasiphae with the love of this white bull or whatever, and then she literally.
Yeah, but what did she do to deserve it? She didn't have to act on it just because she was cursed with it.
No, it was.
It's like Hippolytus and his mom. It's like she didn't have to act on it. She didn't act on it. Actually, it's fair enough. That's like she basically was trying to be like, yeah, I shouldn't act on this.
But I mean, there's no justification for her literally hiring somebody to make a fake.
Yeah, but that's all on her. That's not on Poseidon.
Freaky with it.
That's not on Poseidon. Poseidon's innocent in my perspective. They've ruined Hades for me. Don't let them ruin Poseidon.
I'm trying to just undo all of your moral.
If you keep doing this, I'm just going to have to stick with Proteus, the guy who was left alone.
Can we just...
Fine, Proteus was the only moral one because he kept to himself.
I'll do me, you do you, and we won't do each other, probably.
I'm seeing bats. It would appear that these fires I lit actually stay lit. I wondered if they have the timer, so that's kind of nice.
Stays lit, like, do they provide light?
Perhaps your eyes might answer that question.
Well, but it's not providing much. It's
not much, but it's throughout the town. I've lit several, so having them around. Eventually, this is what happened last time, is the church is supposed to eventually, I'm supposed to receive a notice that's like, hey, the service is over, you can go to the church now. Because for some reason they won't let me in. It's probably something about being a harlot.
Scarlet letter.
But that didn't happen last time, and then so we just wander around the town for like a whole bunch of time. And we've already done that for half the time. Well, actually, I don't know when we officially started, so we might need to extend a little bit because I'm going to have to edit the beginning. But
I do know
about Greeks or about...
Where did that whole term, the Scarlet Letter, even come
from? From the book, I imagine. Unless the book was written in response to something else. Or it may have actually been a real practice that the book was written
that's
about.
what I'm saying. I'm like, was it similar to like a black spot? Like
it was essentially, from what I gather, and this is all from the book, so this may or may not be historical, but basically... Book? I'm going to pretend you didn't ask that question. But essentially, from what I gather... The reason she was not branded is because she is a woman, and had she been a woman, she would have been, or had she been a man, he would have been branded with...
Like with an actual brand?
Well, because they did that with M for murderers. You'd be branded with a M. Sometimes it was on the chest, sometimes it was on the hand. It was basically something so that even if you fled the town, you would always be known as a murderer, and basically everyone would watch out for you. It was basically a form of warning other people. But because she was a woman and it was in an age when they had some decency, they thought, okay, well, we won't brand the woman because that would have been seen as cruel.
But we'll just give her a letter.
But she basically had to wear this pin on her clothes at all times, which effectively did the same thing. It's an all right book. A little bit slow, but here's another topic. Other than the Greeks being horrible, not Greeks, the Greek gods. I don't want to blame the Greeks for their gods.
Greeks are like, hey,
we're not all like that. I swear.
I don't
know why I went. When I'm talking about Greeks, I went straight to Italian New Yorkers. I don't know. Is there even
Tarzan lonely? I can't remember what that whole bit was.
Before you come here, Tarzan only have animals. I mean as friends.
I meant as friends.
Now you've gotten me derailed. I don't know what a Greek accent would be like, because when I think Italian accent, that's not like actual Italian. I think just Italian New Yorker, because that's such a prevalent. I was about to say myth. Trope? Yeah. But I don't know that we ever had like heavy Greek presence in the U.S. such that we would have like here's an accent that the Greeks have. I'm not sure that there was Greek as much wedding. Of that. Yeah, but do they have an accent, or is that just about their culture? And even then, I'm not sure I want to judge Greeks by that film either.
I have not seen that film enough to.
I saw this. Here's the funny thing: is there's 3 of them, and I saw the second one, and that's it. So I have no context for whatever's going on in those films.
Maybe it's because
All I know is it's basically a film about how Greeks are kind of weird. Don't blame me, Greeks. Blame the filmmakers. Anyways, something else that we could talk about in terms of talking about literature being slow. I don't know what you would think of Dune, but
I have
you
heard
should
it's
read
slow.
it because I'm curious. Because here's the thing: I'm of two minds. One which says you'll hate it, and the other which says you might like it because it's certainly an adherent to your strange philosophy of I don't ever want to be told things ever. Because it's absolutely the kind of book that will never tell you anything ever. Okay, Saint Lucia looks like Gabe Newell. Anyway, but then I'm also like because I was comparing it to Tolkien in the complete opposite sense, where Tolkien's and I mean I'm not the only one to do that. People compare them for being essentially. Dune is basically the Lord of the Rings of sci-fi, where it's one of the most well-developed worlds to have ever been fictionalized. Like it feels the most realistic and lived in. But the difference between them is that Tolkien will throw a bunch of like words that depict the world around, like the greater scheme of the world. So it'll be like these people who speak this language, and then he'll have the courtesy to be like, and as like his sort of quasi-historical commentator, like his historical commentation on his own work was like, oh, and here's an aside about explaining what these people are and why they're significant. And that kind of got in the way for me. I was like, sometimes those asides went on too long, and I wanted it to get back to the story. Sure. But having Dune, which is similar in that it'll throw a bunch of words out, but it won't explain them. So I'm like, okay, I'm caught between two different things, because on one hand, Tolkien explains a little too much, and it interrupts the flow. But with Frank Herbert, I'm like, okay, so there's a whole bunch of words that he just threw at me, which I'm going to assume have some kind of meaning.
Well, but what does Herbert unpack?
He doesn't.
Saying, why is it slow then? What could he be possibly doing with
all it's just words? Because you don't know what's going on. So, like, stuff keeps happening, but every time you basically have to piece together what a word means by the context it's used in. But by the time you've understood that, like, 3 more different words will be thrown at you. So you're like, okay, I finally figure out who this cult of this people are, but that was like 3 chapters ago, and now there's this new thing going on that I don't know about. So you
kind of appreciate that, because it's almost as if you're a character within the book.
In some ways, I am learning to. The book has the reputation that it gets good after the first 200 pages, and I would say that's actually exaggerating. It's getting good after the first 100 pages, because I'm like, okay, he does at least do it well enough that you can piece it together through context. Like, it's definitely show don't tell, but he does show enough to get it. So that's something. But I don't know. I'm curious to see what you'd think of it, just because I don't know if you would appreciate his adherence to your cult of
non-disclosure.
I was going to think of a better word. That's
a perfect word.
Well, yes, but it's mine was more literarily. Wow. I hate when this happens. When a joke is ruined by my own bad memory. Exposition. That's the literary word. The cult of non-exposition. But then again, he is like so unlike Tolkien that I'm not sure if that would get on your nerves.
I don't know that I have to have everybody be like Tolkien. I mean, I'm not. I don't know. I'm certainly a fanboy, but I'm not somebody who says that should be every literary work ever.
I found Paul in the mines. I need to search Leonie's mine locker. Right, that was the thing we couldn't do last time, because I have no clue where the mine locker is. I remember this quest now, because this was the quest that never actually went anywhere. And then we ran out of time before I did anything. This is also really not a helpful thing. Whatever this menu we're supposed to be using. Very unintuitive. The Torn Well, St. Lucia's Shrine. Okay, so it wants me to do a thing. Mine Union Graffiti, the mine entrance. So I'm guessing I have to piece this together. Do you reckon? Oh, hang on. Isn't that the mouth of? No, that's the anti-mine. That's the anti-mine Union Graffiti. Are they suggesting that is near the mine entrance? Have you seen any of? Do you recognize this imagery?
No.
I recognize that blue light in the distance.
It's the ghost
And there's a sign by
line.
grates. So there's a door. There's 2 grates on either side, and then there is a faint blue light in the distance. The only thing well, as a matter of fact. Oh wait, that's here. That's these 2 grates. Paul, get out of the way. I got to get in there.
I'm Paul.
Wait, hang on. So if I recreate, yes, it is here because it's the. All right, hang on.
She just made the biggest like.
Is this seriously it? Is that the mine entrance that Paul's standing in the way of? The 2 grates on either side, the weird railing, the light in the distance,
It is.
and then the billboard next to us. Well, then where's the mine? Oh, the miner's lockers is a separate place. I don't recognize that at all. A cracked pillar and a blue Australia. Is that a drink or is that some kind of a horrible act?
Wow.
Like you can go to a bar and be like, "Hey, can I get a blue Australia?" And
If
he'll
you
be,
want
"Whoa!"
to, he'll be in there in 10 minutes going to the bathroom.
That's awful.
I'm sorry. That's just
Even
terrible.
worse. He just goes, "All right, give me 10 minutes." All right, cracked pillar and a blue Australia. And we're bound for blue Australia. I don't think it's here. It would have to be near the mines, though, surely. Mine lockers aren't going to be anywhere far from the mines.
Think so.
In a mine, where a bunch of miners died. Did you ever listen to that video or that song I sent you? May as well talk about dwarves now. Talked about Dune and Greeks. And Greek dunes.
I
we done?
don't.
Well, I guess I
remind me
can't-
which video is it? Like a parody of that song?
Well, it's the same people who have done a parody of that song. There's this group. It's called Clamavi, now that I've been studying Latin, I want to pronounce it Latin, but that's weird. It's Clamavi de Profundis, which I'm not sure what that means in Greek or in Latin. I believe Clamavi is something like a key. I could be wrong about that.
Clava is.
I think it's wait. Or it could be clamare, in which case clamawi would be been using my flashcards recently. Clamawi would be that would be first person though. It would be a first person, I believe, past perfect tense. I could get my flashcards out to agree. But that would mean that I sing about profound things. Huh. That's very on the nose, because I actually agree that that's what they do, but I didn't realize that's what they were saying this whole time. If that's even my correct pronunciation, I am not banking on that. But one of the things they do a lot of is they because it might not be brothers, but I'm guessing based on they sound like brothers because they all have similar voices, and they have very sort of
Well, it's language patterns. That's the biggest thing.
And so they. All of their songs are like these sort of dwarven chants, and a lot of them are Lord of the Rings inspired, of course. And they actually as I was talking about my Klingon sympathies and how I might not be as much of a dwarf as I thought I was previously, but I'm like, these songs, if dwarf culture was actually determined by like these songs, I think I could be comfortable being a dwarf. Because they're basically a bunch of songs about like brotherhood and honor in battle and being tough
that's
and cool.
Very much a dwarfish idea,
Yeah.
but I thought you embraced the idea that it was like, I'm going to say what I want and say what I think.
I think dwarves can do that.
Yes, but
My main thing is I don't like when dwarves are depicted as sort of bumbling or silly.
I think that's an inaccurate description of them, because if you, in any of the books,
only in the
I don't know
Hobbit.
that Tolkien
The Hobbit makes them out to be a lot more goofish, but that was way earlier.
That's what I'm saying. I don't think that Tolkien specifically frames them that way.
He does in the Hobbit. They're definitely a little bit
Only
bumbling.
in the Hobbit, maybe.
And well, you could argue because it was a children's story before Lord of the Rings was fully developed that maybe he hadn't fleshed them out as much as he eventually
even then,
would.
though, I don't think that they were ever portrayed as like some sort of idiots. They just were more jovial.
Yeah, but see, that's the part of them I would like less of. I would like them to be more. If you could combine Klingons and dwarves, not only would you have the master race, but you would also have a very stoic and serious people. And I like this. I like their music because most of the time it is fairly like they sing. I guess if that's what they're saying, they sing about profound things. Where it's like being tough and doing right and winning glory and stuff things. And I kind of like that. But I was why did I bring that up? Oh, because they do a song that is they sing the "Where Now the Horse and the Rider" poem in like a sort of Old English. It's not exactly dwarvish, but it fits for this song given that it's sort of an Anglo-Saxon inspired culture, and it's actually weirdly emotional because I've always been a fan of that poem. And then to hear it sung in this kind of seemingly traditional way, and then in the middle of it, they actually have the Rohirrim violin piece come in, and that always gives me chills. So I was like, it gets you emotional. I was like, wow. So you apparently never listened to it, and I'm talking to myself.
Emotionalism, Patrick.
Talking to myself.
I don't recall ever listening to that.
Thanks.
So.
It's good to know that if I send you something, you'll ignore it.
Well,
where do you reckon the cracked pillar is?
Where do you reckon the crack is?
Where do you reckon I could get a crack pillar? Crack in my pillar. What is this? That's some good detail. How do I get out of here?
Oh, what does it say? Tunnel something.
Secret tunnel through the mountains. Secret tunnel. Secret tunnel. Okay, keep an eye on Sergio. But see, where is this place? Mine Union Graffiti. It's connected to the mine entrance and to the miners' lockers. Can I see the miners? Oh, I can look. Okay, I can look around freely. Well, you didn't mention this before, game. Okay, that's actually quite useful. Gate. That's right by us. That's the front gate. Okay, I didn't know I could actually look around in first person in these things. That would be this gate. Never mind. That's a brick wall. Oh no, a wall. Where's the entrance? How do I get out of here?
So, I've been looking into this recently, and I'm curious what your thoughts are, just as far as
dwarves, or you gonna pass me by? No. Everybody should listen to them. They got good songs, and they're very. Here's what I'll say: if you are a man, they will appeal to you because it's very much sort of men at arms, brotherly combat. That kind of winning glory in battle. This is not the gate. I thought this was. I mean, it is a gate. It's not the gate. That looked like some kind of a... See, the thing is, if it's miners' lockers, it has to be near the mine, or am I giving this too much thought? Because that looked an awful lot like a... how do I get it up? Don't answer that. Miners' lockers. So, there's the purple Australia. This looks like some kind of a hole in the wall. Like these look jagged. But then that is some kind of a gate, or some kind of like a guardrail. Like that would be, like you'd have to pull up to that and give them your ticket before you come in.
Sense.
Well, if it's
the miner's locker underneath in the actual mine.
Well, if it is in the mine, how do I get in there? Because Paul's blocking the way.
Well, where's the entrance of the mine?
I don't. Well, Paul's in the way, and I can't get past him. Give him a snog, but then I'd be cheating on the guy I'm already cheating with.
Yeah. What happens when you cheat? And then you cheat again!
It does tend to. But, alright, Paul, boom, Paul, get out the way! Get out the way, Paul, get out the way!
That was, pretty sure that was the original lyrics to Peter's song.
Peter? Well, it wasn't. All right, Paul, get it out of here. I am a sassy Italian woman, and I won't take no for an answer.
Well, apparently he will.
Paul, I'm loving the jacket, but Bane is asking you for some fashion tips. Get me... Okay, well, he says no, apparently.
That's what I'm saying.
You merely adopted the mine. I was born in it.
Stood right here since I was a child. And now my legs are nothing but... I don't know. Oak trees.
You cannot push me down for all you're worth. All right, well, this is exactly what happened. Okay, so somehow the first time we played this, when we knew nothing about it, that was the most interesting playthrough with Catholic aliens, and we actually saw the monster for once.
And we have to do something to get. Did we have to drop some catamaran down there?
We had to drop acid on a Tuesday. There we go. Burn it. We gotta burn it down. I'm gonna burn the whole place.
Okay. So anyway, as far as the songs,
I can see much better down there now. It's got a torn and mangled scrap of its guy. Last time the church was over by now. Having an extra long mass today.
Are you sure that it's not like completion based and that you have to complete whatever's next?
That is entirely possible, but like the only mission I have not yet achieved is to find this mine locker. And I mean, I can't help but feel like getting further away from the mine is not the way to do that. I did not notice these before. That is very creepy. Okay. Creepy as all get out, actually.
Why? It's a bunch of those weird, like...
Why is it... Oh, that was just the camera clipping into the wall. There was... Well, yeah, but... Why are they hanging from the ceiling of just this random tunnel? So this is another one, the mine graffiti. Is the fact that these are connected in the menu, does that mean anything?
I don't know.
Here's the mine graffiti. That's that thing. You see
If I had to guess...
Where's the purple Australia?
Look back at the main map. If I had to guess, I would say you're reading from left to right, so it would be right there first.
This looks underground. I mean, this seems like it is in the mine.
Well, and that's the comment I made before.
But then I don't know how to get in there. I mean, I didn't realize that I could actually manipulate these.
The only other interpretation would be that you would look from the top down, which means it would be either top right.
This is the church, which I can't get in.
No, I'm talking about the
Torn well, which I already know where this is.
Oh, no, not that.
Well, now that I know,
one that's the white circle.
Now that I know that I can do this, I'm going to see if there's something I missed in any of these others. I don't think there is. None of these are relevant. The villa, the basement key. Hang on.
You have to go and get.
Okay, so I can go into the dungeon with the basement key. Did I ever get a basement key? They didn't mention that. Ooh. What? Here's some Falcon photograph. Here's some Falcon photograph. Squat for
my
pucker up and kiss it, Italy.
No, I mean
photograph this.
What it reminds me of those songs. What it reminds me of is there's a.
Wait, hang on. So you're saying you have seen them now?
No, I'm saying the way you're describing it reminds me of. There's a guy by the name of Peter
with a big knife.
I remember his last name. It starts with a C, but he does all that kind of Celtic folk vibe. But he does very vocal heavy. Like there's not really a lot of other stuff.
Well, they kind of do that, except there's usually drums and horns and things. But it is very choral. I don't know. I think that it's cool. I'm going to go see what Sergio's got in his bedroom. I'm going to look at his journals. I'm going to see where he's hiding his magazines. I know he's got them. Did I ever get the key to this? Can I get in? Let me in. No. No, it won't. All right, so there's a basement key, which I don't have. See... I just feel like the game's not meeting us halfway. We got very far the first time. Showed off a whole bunch of weird stuff and Catholic aliens, which no one's going to believe now. And that's just it. Like, no one's going to believe us, and we're going to be forever...
walk around doing nothing.
Going to walk around Italy going, Catholic aliens, I swear they're here! Okay. I don't know what that means.
Anyway, yeah, songs.
Anyway, well, you're not helping me here.
Well, I mean,
apparently you don't care about the things I send to you for cultural enrichment.
No.
I will stay a Luddite.
I am
I
curious.
bet you the reason there's no mirror here is because it would have been graphically difficult to code.
Probably true. So they just. Oh well, that bathroom got ransacked. What about this one over here? Yeah, no, that one too. It's the mirror, the bathroom mirror burglar.
Why are there matches in every single one of these cupboards? That's not what you put in cupboards.
It is when you've got monsters on the loose.
Well, are there any monsters on the loose? The game begs to differ. The monster's in the church, and I can't go to the church because I'm a harlot. Don't. That's not an allegory.
There are monsters in the church, and harlots can't come in. Anyway, I was curious whether you had ever done any sort of exploration.
I'm sure you've ever done
or
drugs.
looking into, drugs, crack. No, this gets a bit into some of the previous discussions we've had, but I'm curious whether this has ever been a part of.
Wait, hang on. Okay, so part of the city is straight up locked off.
That you've ever looked into NLP at all?
Not by acronym alone.
Well,
Not the National Baseball League.
Yes.
I see glowing red. Oh, it's the church.
The eyes of church. Yes, it is.
The eyes of God glowing angrily at me.
So it stands for neuro-linguistic programming, and
Neuro as in brain, or Nero as in the Roman emperor.
No, not Nero. Sorry, neuro-linguistic
Lighting
programming.
fires everywhere. I got 46 matches.
Essentially, what it is it's various techniques on. It's things that probably we've already discussed based on psychological effects.
Just
and
how to
things
learn languages quickly.
No. It's not that. It's basically mapping your brain in it. It's helping people be more self-aware who aren't naturally. Kind of deep dive into some of their own perceptions and things of that nature. It tinges, well, I should say this. It dips its toe into the dark psychology side a little bit because many people use these techniques specifically in sales. Like I realized as I started looking into this that I'd learned most of these in sales. It's just something you used, but you also use them on a manipulative level a little bit. But I was just curious because there's a great deal of interesting, just thought, not even experiments, but thought techniques that you can use to enhance your effectiveness in a particular task or event or something like that. One of which, I don't know if you've heard of like the swish method. Is like if you are trying to quit a habit or something like that, and I think the guy gives an example of healthy anymore or whatever. He goes, it's one thing to say I'm not going to eat unhealthy and I'm going to
You got to replace it with something.
Well, it's replacement, but it's like the biggest thing with Swish is like you replace it with a image of a healthier you in.
I was getting Freudian, sorry. Well, guess what I said based off of that context. Okay, the world's turning red. Is the monster going to appear? Is the game going to get interesting? I like this neon color palette. Much more. Is that just a building in the distance? No, it's just a chimney, I guess. So there is a hardware store that I can't get in, but I can see into.
But essentially, it is
Herramienta. Bene.
techniques that you can use to improve. So with the switch method, you're essentially putting your new goal as, okay, this is who I want to be and represent, and you have kind of an image of yourself in your mind, not this is an image of me eating salad. Like they actually say in neuro-linguistic programming, you need to not be specific. Like if you're trying to stop eating food that is bad for you or something like that, picture the life you want to live without being overweight or whatever it may be. And then you begin to adjust based on the fact that your brain mapping is becoming a little bit more of like if you make that a pattern, like where each time you think about food, rather than
Wait, this is the
dwelling on it and how much you either aren't or are going to do it, you just bounce to, okay, this is the desired self that I want to be. But anyway, that's only one technique within neurolinguistic programming. I just thought it was interesting because most of them have to do with, hey, here's something that you can do to improve your own life and understanding yourself better. But then, you know,
What
you
does
have
that to
these
do with
facilities.
linguistics?
Language and the way that we use it is important, and I guess I'll just use myself as an example. And again, I've applied these things before I even really knew NLP was a thing, so this was not me specifically trying to run after this
Why does the
technique.
The world gets
However,
redder the more I touch things.
I think grown up with two sisters and not really having a lot of sounding board when it comes to this sounds bad, but like not to say like male
thing,
figures.
but I grew up with sisters, and that doesn't make me any more intuitive or whatever.
No, it's not
emotionally
intuitive. No, I'm not talking about that. I'm saying my vocabulary, the way that I frame sentences, or I had to come to grips with this. The way that I frame sentences and my vocabulary tends to be very feminine. Times. Or it was. I suppose I should say it that way. It was. And so things like me on the phone or in a drive-through, when my face and my and the cadence and the timbre of my voice and that kind of thing wasn't playing a factor and a role, the way in which I constructed language and syntax communicates to people either masculine or feminine. It communicates to people either confident or non. I mean, there's ways in which we communicate that makes you feel or sound a particular way. And so I had to adjust. Okay, I'm realizing that I'm coming off very passive is not a right word. Almost submissive, which sounds really not good, but that's why I felt like I had to adjust it, is because I was getting to a point of not really being able to have my own opinions respected or anything like that. And I just had to go, you know what? I need to get to a place where people are going to be uncomfortable with the shift I'm making, and even friends and family within this shift contextually. I think we've talked about this. Within this shift.
Not in this context of your language.
No, that's true. But like within this shift contextually, people are like, why are you acting weird? Or why are you being more aggressive? Or something like that. And you're going, well, sorry,
because
I'm
the world
intentionally...
needs more of it.
Yeah.
I'm very much a subscriber now. I think I've finally come around to understanding the Kierkegaardian opinion that the world is too easy, so you should make it harder for people. Because at first it sounds like a joke, but the more I think about it, I'm like, I think he was right. Specifically, we had the whole concept of like consequences, where I am very much like, if I am the plate upon which your consequences are served to you, I'm perfectly content with that role in life. Because this notion of like, oh no, it's mercy, we gotta just let live and let live. I'm like, no, this kind of behavior I won't put up with. So you're gonna face the consequences of being an idiot. You might call it harsh, but life is too easy. If me being rude to you is the harshest thing that happens in your life, you're lucky.
Right, exactly. So anyway,
that's not an excuse to just do it willy-nilly, which I think some people might think if you take the Kierkegaardian approach too literally. But I think there's just an element of like, no, actually, we are sissifying the world, specifically men. But I mean, I think everyone is
in the Sisyphus.
No, as in making them into sissies, as in unable to face the consequences of their own actions. I'm just like, suffering's coming, man. We're raising a
generation of squibs.
Yeah, like suffering's on its way. Best boot up. Where do I go? So the game is committed. It was the Catholic aliens. I made the Catholic alien joke once, and the game denied me any interesting things after that. It was like, if you're going to show us that kind of contempt, you can wander around this town forever.
You will curse to be and forever cursed.
Because I can't go anywhere. And
you're going to have to find the mine shaft.
Okay, fine, Paul. I did. Like, why has this not been crossed off the list? Because I did do that.
Have to... what?
Why? Well, okay. I've gone too far. The villa. The note. Murgia's sisters. Strange wall. I don't care about any of this. Yeah, keep an eye on him. He's sleeping. What can I do? I just don't understand what it is they actually want of me. Where candidates for elections are posted. Someone's prime minister. Saw a picture of a creepy thing. Why can't I look at the back of it if there's nothing on it? Like, I'm not... I'm assuming the gold are the things that matter. But I can't get, like, okay, I found Paul. What did you want me to do to him? He's standing there. I said everything I can. I can't find this place because this seems to be like it's inside. The only thing I can do is just watch Sergio this whole time. Wait, hang on. When the central node is focused, the list of current events... Yeah. Selecting a mission will focus its node to the left side of the screen. This is the most convoluted menu screen. Details about... Well, okay. Apparently I can select this. You can
help you.
I don't know yet, but I
Does it actually get it up on your map? Does it?
Nothing.
Is it finally showing you how to get it up?
Well, maybe. Okay. I don't want to... Like, I should never have to hold buttons to do that. Okay, so I can... No. If I select Search Leone's Mine, will that do anything practically when I'm not in the map screen?
Well, you got some notification.
Like, what? It's one of these? Nurse photo. Christian magazine. Okay. Finalmente restuaro per la chiesa e la cripta. Good. Something about a crypt. Final restoration of a crypt. Great. Oh, this is a lot of text. Completed missions. I haven't done any of these things.
I think that this game needs to be recoded. Bottom line, the Catholic aliens aren't coming out.
Catholic aliens. Well,
that's going to be forever
the Catholic
a
aliens
joke.
Buggered the game, or the Catholic alien, or the game was upset.
The Catholic aliens
about my
were
reference
actually not
to the
even
Catholic
in the
aliens.
original code, and they just somehow appeared.
Okay, so there's a creepy eye through the window. Every time I knock on a door, something turns red. Is this like I'm making lots of noise and the monster's going to appear? That sounds like something that would be interesting. I want to put my hand in this guy's face. Can I touch the creepy wall face? You know, of all the things in this map, this is easily the thing I would think something's got to be done with this, right?
The fact that you can't get into the church?
No, the creepy wall face. I mean, the church, obviously the church is my main mission, but it won't actually let me into the church. Like, the screen just gets more and more red. Well, if I keep doing this, will the screen continue to get red until something happens? Whoa, hello. Whoop. Whoop. I've glitched the game. I've glitched it. What's going on inside the church? Camera, I can't get to the camera to turn around. What's going on in a church? I swear, this is the kind of... If I saw that on this in a city in which I was forced to do puzzles, so that's already a pretty big circumstance. But it's like, this would be the thing. I'm like, surely some kind of quest is going to involve this. But
Plug his mouth hole.
Well, I'd like to.
Special. And that's when I realized Canadians.
Chiuso. Yeah. Well, I don't want to give up again. I mean...
Anyway, what are your thoughts on that? You don't know anything about it?
I've not. That's not. I mean, it seems like the kind of thing that's like.
It's some of
if
it
you
is
thought about
obvious.
it, it would be obvious, but maybe people just aren't thinking about it enough.
Right. Like some of them are not obvious, specifically when you get into the ones about like influencing other people, which I found interesting. I never would have thought of that.
I've never read any kind of book that claims to be about that actually teaches it.
Oh, NLP's not about that. It's actually more about reframing your own mind.
It's like these books that are supposed to be like, oh, here's how to be charismatic and here's how to talk to people. And I'm just like, they always say really hollow things that don't actually work.
Well, that's certainly true.
I'm just like, I don't know.
When the way neuro-linguistic programming functions is more like you see on like mentalism, where it's like, okay, I use this particular word which made you think of this, and I knew it, so I intentionally then anchored that word to your answer. When you answered me, you felt like you were making a genuine decision when you really weren't.
I also feel like some of that's just bunk.
It not though. I mean, it is in that it's not perfect. It's not like you can be fooled against your will, but that's when you get into the whole threshold concept, which is why that's a psychological field within itself. Of threshold is like, okay, how easy is that to perform on you? Because for certain people, it's going to be impossible.
So I can't glitch through all windows.
And for others that are very easily suggestible, it's like, okay, well, yeah, that's.
Whoop! She's got a foot in. Come on.
You almost made it through the force field.
You've broken through the window. Come on, just go the whole way. Well, the game's not meeting us halfway, so I don't feel as bad about giving it a bad reputation now, because it was interesting the first time, because it was weird, and there was Catholic aliens, and, like, stuff happened, and so it's being weird made it very interesting, despite the fact that it was kind of incomprehensible. But, like, incomprehensible is better than just nothing happening. I mean, there's also the fact that whenever we do these things, we're never focusing as much on the game as we should, so perhaps the answer's obvious and I'll see it in the editing. But, like, this is a strange menu system. Selecting something doesn't seem to have done anything helpful. Like, I selected that this... I don't want your tutorial! I mean, maybe I need it, but... Like, all it's doing is highlighting, it's like, yeah, okay, here's where the mine entrance is. I've already been there. So, what's it gonna do for me? I don't know where this is, but I can't seem to get there. So, like, again, what good's it gonna do? I don't know what to say. The creepy masks hanging from the ceiling, that actually is the closest thing to a scare this has gotten this whole time.
I think the Catholic aliens is just going to be like an undercover
and even
now. I'm going to be looking for Catholic aliens in every game we play now.
Even
that's
last
just
time, there were like people walking around the town that I could interact with.
That's also going to be on a t-shirt. Just a t-shirt with two aliens. Random
Basically,
heads.
what the Catholic aliens I think we're actually in a Doctor Who game, and they were the weird, what's those guys? The Silence? The aliens that whenever you see them, you immediately forget it.
Oh, no.
That's the Silence. Isn't that who they're called? They're the giant... It's even more apt because they're really tall, they got big heads, and they wear suits. So they were actually not at all unlike the Catholic aliens that showed up in the game. Actually, we might not be playing a game. We might just be in Doctor Who. That makes a whole lot more sense now. That's the explanation I'm going with. But Catholic aliens, that would make for a better t-shirt. Anyways, I don't got a closer. I mean, I feel like I should go somewhere and make my final stand, but ain't gonna happen. I'll go to the church and die. I'll lay down in front of the door and say something sacrilegious. No, not really. Except maybe. All right,
then the aliens will come out for a whole different reason.
You got 30 seconds to give me something sacrilegious to say before I get to the door of the church.
Hey. Not to be put on the spot at all.
Yeah, no, you're on the spot. All right. I'm going to bang on the door like Luther. And I wish something would happen when the screen turns red like this. I can't help but feel like this would be a perfect opportunity for some kind of scare. Evidently not. Well, how do Catholic aliens say, like, whatever they're what is it they say in Catholic Church anyways? The sort of peace be among you kind of that's Islam.
Peace be with you and an extra piece for you.
Sure.